It don't matter what Trump does, he won't break my soul. He won't. We can't do it.
Real.
You know, our ancestors looked across the fields and they believed that one day a podcast called Jaam.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a very special episode 37 of The Jaam. It's JJ, AB, Allen, Matt, the way it always is.
The way it always is. Momentous occasion.
Momentous occasion. We have a very special guest joining us shortly. We're back for another week.
Another week, bro.
Man, how we doing?
Another day, another
stressful.
Everybody looking good, bro.
Yeah, everybody's
looking spiffy
freaking
today.
dandy. But
sir.
before we get into the very special occasion, you know, what do we task you guys with every single week without fail?
Bro,
it's been over
37 weeks.
we probably missed like a week or two.
Yeah,
so it's been like 38 or something
Allen.
total weeks, and 37 of those we tell them to do.
What do we have to do every time you wake up, put the crust out your eyes, open up your phone, you go to YouTube? What do you have to do?
Bro, I tell y'all every week. Tell them. Y'all need to share this video. If y'all see the guests we got and y'all don't share this video, unsubscribe.
Actually,
you don't believe in the movement.
At that point, you don't believe.
It.
But where can they find us? Other platforms.
We can find us on Prime, Acast, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
TikTok.
Spotify, TikTok, Facebook.
You already said it.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/thejaampodcast.
You know,
Make sure
all of the above.
Hey, hold on. We got to give a brief shout out to the Madre. She subbed to the Patreon.
Oh,
yes.
Wait, really?
Yes.
you remember
Shout out, mom. Look.
Shout out to the mom. Yes, sir.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
She did it literally yesterday. I woke up and I was like, what the?
If
saw
you
your mama
Madre, yeah.
directly sending you the
that's your
bread.
mom's name.
If
Hell
you
yeah.
want to be as cool as our mom, go subscribe to the Patreon. We got exclusive content coming, but also follow us on our individual platforms as well. J William J, J William J8.
You know what I mean? What you on, Matt? SoulStudios.com.
AB, the artist.
Yes, sir.
Believe me.
Today is a
It's
day.
the day, man.
I keep hyping it up, but we got to talk about like ourselves first, you know,
God.
the
Yeah.
jam before we
Get into
XYZ. So what's the fit checks hitting on?
Jam format?
We can go in jam format. I
Jam
got
format.
you, because it's a day.
It's a day.
You had to go with the velvets on. Make it a good day. Then you had to go with the default, you know, church pants.
Yeah.
Then you had to go with the black tie, you know, the white shirt. Can't go wrong with it.
But we got
half evil on the belt.
half the belt.
What are you feeling like?
Chain and the piece de resistance.
Wait, hold on. Show the inside of that coat.
Yeah, hold on.
Burberry?
It's not Burberry, but almost.
Wait,
yeah.
show the watch?
Oh yeah, and then a little two-tone today. I had to step. This is the first time y'all seeing the trench coat.
Yeah.
That's fire,
That's the first
bro.
time I'm seeing the trench.
The first time I wore the trench coat, maybe a year. One of the A's.
All right, I'll go next. Your boy got the loafers on, the shiny patent leathers with the little scuffs on them. Don't worry about the
Every loafer got a
scuffs.
different consistency.
You feel me? Got the black jeans.
Slacks.
Come on, man.
Black slacks, you feel me? Black slacks. Got the honor the gift tee, you know what I'm saying, with the floor print on it, you feel me? Got the blue on the Swarovski.
Hang out.
Courteous of Joshua Enterprises, Matt Enterprises,
It was them, yeah.
Allen Enterprises.
It was us.
It was technically incorporated as Jaam Enterprises, but it was
Shout out to the boy Matthew. You know what I'm saying? Got the Blue Citizen watch. Haven't found this in like ages.
Yeah,
Shout out to Matthew. You know what I'm saying? The little chain. You feel me,
You know
sir.
what I mean?
Chillin'.
Yes, sir.
Allen, what you got
Haircut
on,
on
man?
beam, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And he got the beam.
I've been seeing people compliment the haircut.
Yes, sir.
In the comments.
I need to. Never mind. Oh, it's my turn. Yeah, it's your
Yes,
turn.
sir.
So, got the loafers on. You already know. Wore these every episode. Favorite pants, fire.
Yes, sir.
Not mine, but Sat.
Sat.
Got a little dress shirt because I'm feeling proper because about our guest.
Yeah.
Got a little fire jacket. You will never find this, and you will only see me rock.
Yeah.
No, real.
If I catch any of y'all rocking, I know you stole sweat.
I know you stole sweat.
Yup.
Vivian little earring.
That's
Hold on.
tough.
That's
Yeah.
Nah, man.
That's the fit, but what you feeling like?
Man,
Last
you know
was
what I'm
certainly
feeling
not
like.
Lee.
You know me, man. I got the lemon peppers on. Had to get the lemon peppers. You know what I mean? Way too much goddamn money. You know, what I mean? Scam
Boy
the
got
shit
the
out of
logo
me.
on the sock.
Logo on the socks. Got the solidarity. Look, got the solidarity
on the toe.
You not doing it right unless you got solidarity.
You're not doing it right unless you got solidarity.
Shout out
on the
Quano.
top. Shout out Quano.
Shout out.
Yes, sir.
Got the tailored,
The dress.
you know what I mean, dress pants and shit.
Sir.
Got the little chameleon tie, you know what I mean?
Satin.
Burgundy.
Satin burgundy chameleon
satin.
tie. It kind of it's reflective.
It got a
That's
gradient. to
yeah,
it.
like
I
a little
fuck with it.
Pokemon card and shit. And then I got the little the burgundy, you know what I'm saying, the red.
Yeah, sir.
You know what I mean?
That's hard.
Chilling. I don't got no chains on. Oh, let me explain this real quick because I know they can say something. So the dude at the store was like, "Oh, nah, your neck not fat, gang. Like, you good." And I was like, "Nah, bro, my neck kind of fat, bro. I need a bigger size." He like, "Nah, you good. I'm gonna give you an extender." Definitely need a bigger size. Extender don't work, but it's cool.
Choking his ass.
I tied my tie myself though, first try.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
yes, sir.
I'm about to say
Nigga
that,
like
On
me.
that's
some
all
real
that-
man shit.
and that's
you know
all
what
that
I'm
matter. I
Nigga
think
like
that
me and
I think
shit.
the fit looked good, and that's really all that matters.
Bro.
Sir.
But yeah, it has been everybody dressed all snazzy. It's been a hell of a week, but
Yeah,
like
it
it always
Yup.
seems to be like that nowadays.
Bro.
You just went through a move, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I moved from a place
To a place.
to a place on Halloween.
Oh,
So your boy couldn't even get no trick or treaters or nothing. I'm saying so. Yeah, moved in. Just been staring out the window all day.
yeah, sounds
That's
all
how it
right.
goes.
One of the
That's about right.
boys.
Yep.
How was like the first night and then to like the morning? You like, damn, I'm really in here.
The first night, like, bro. So we got all the boxes in. The first thing I did was set up the bed, and I believe
Yeah.
we went out. We went to Giordano's or some shit.
Yeah.
and I came back. I hit that bed, nigga.
That's like the best thing you could
That
say.
is
Oh
the
my
best.
God, bro. That was probably like the best sleep I've had in a minute.
I think
I woke up, looked out the window. I thought I was like in a window screen. I was like, this is crazy,
I was gonna
bro.
say I think the best feeling about even when we had moved to the city officially last year was that first, like, it was at least not where we live because we didn't really have windows like that. But when we moved again, getting to that place where you get to look out the window, you get to see like crazy views. Oh my God,
crazy.
it's a surreal experience.
it's
When we
real.
it's definitely tainted by like the day before of us moving in and the
Oh, it was
wow.
that,
Oh,
that
in
was
the sense
hell.
of like that day was like the worst day of my life.
Yeah, we moved ourselves. AB did the smart thing. He got some movers because everything's been way too hectic and it was Halloween. We did not do the smart thing. We waited and procrastinated and then moved ourselves out the last minute and would not recommend. Don't ever do that.
Don't ever do
If you gonna move, please do it weeks in advance
Yeah,
and pack
plan
your
it.
stuff up,
Like
plan it.
actually.
Because that was like actually unreasonably difficult.
And we threw it like he can't find his phone posits.
My phone posits are gone.
My G
can't find
Bezos, bro. My G Bezos been gone, bro.
My all black foams, I have not seen them since we moved. I don't know where they were. I remember we took a tour of our current crib and I have a picture of me wearing them with the fit. And that was maybe a day or two before, or like a week or two before we moved. After we moved, couldn't find them shoes.
And then the
Still don't know where
amount of
them-
things we were throwing away, like,
away everything.
it had to have been last week. I was asking Matt for something. I forgot what I was asking for.
Was it the
But I was
basketball?
like, no, it was
We threw away the
something.
basketball.
No, not the basketball.
Threw away every seasoning
I was like,
too.
what is this? He was like, nigga, we threw it away. We even threw away our Christmas tree. nigga.
We did.
Oh my
never
God,
forget
bro.
about
Bro.
that,
Wait,
bro.
the big Christmas
The
tree.
Yes,
big one, the
bro.
Jaam Christmas tree, bro.
There's not
If
a
y'all
dollar
know,
amount,
y'all
bro.
seen it, it's probably still on the Instagram from last Christmas. It's because our ceilings aren't as high as the other ones. Even though our last crib didn't really have windows, the
Yeah.
ceilings were super high. So we got to get this nice tree, got
was
the
a
fake
big
snow
ass-
on it. It was like a 9-foot
Yeah.
Christmas tree, and it was our first like Christmas
Oh
tree.
yeah,
and
so
we
it can't
couldn't-
fit. Dang.
It couldn't fit in the
Or
crib. Couldn't move
JJ
with
soul,
it,
you wasn't
man.
getting me to move that shit.
Now we gotta
It
get
was
like a
sitting
little
on a-
7 foot or something.
Yeah, now we gotta still do shopping, but it is getting to the Christmas season.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
still November. So
It's
don't talk
Christmas
about
to
that
me.
yet.
I ain't gonna lie. It's already.
I got
Christmas
candy
to me.
canes, nigga.
Yeah, he got candy canes and shit.
Everyone's
Stop.
feeling real festive, and I'm feeling real festive because we got to celebrate some really good news yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Stepping away from the personal and back into the news, into the real world. Zohran Mamdani just got elected as the mayor of New York City. Man, oh man.
I'll talk to him later. I'll talk to him later. You're dumb as hell, bro. We knew that shit. I'll talk to him later. I'll talk to him later.
This has been a crazy experience just because this is probably the first like big race I think the Jaam has covered. Because, you know, I've been on the back rooms of the internet watching political races for the past few years now. And we, obviously it's known, we've done a few clips like and talking about like the race, the strategies when it comes to like how they're trying to frame certain messaging and shit. And those clips did really well. And we do have a very big New York audience. So shout out to y'all.
Shout out to New York. Bro, I was gonna say that. I'm so glad that like New York showed out like for real. Like it wasn't no like, oh my God, all this hype and shit, and then you get to the day and it's fucking a letdown. It's like, no,
over a million people voted for him.
I believe Zohran received 1 million votes. The first mayoral candidate to receive 1 million votes since 1969, I believe. Wow. It was a generational night all across the country. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But like that was cause for celebration. I remember I posted what I had to post. I got off Instagram and I was celebrating that.
Cut water's the dude.
Cut water's the dude.
Cut water. Dick Cheney. Wait, Dick Cheney.
Oh yeah, Dick Cheney.
That I was gonna say. The entire day was crazy. We're gonna get more into the analysis part of it a little bit later in the show, but the entire day was crazy because that's how the day began. We woke up and saw Dick Cheney had passed away. And then I saw Zohran got asked about it. And he was like, his wife hit the...
I would have done the same shit.
The same thing. He said, To those of you who don't know, and Dick Cheney was vice president under Bush. And he oversaw a lot of the war crimes that took place in the Middle East in response to 9/11. Invasion of Iraq, killing of a lot of innocent civilians. And that was kind of like America's foreign policy immediately post 9/11 was very hawkish and continuing to be more interventional when it comes to like other people's conflicts and shit and deploying the military.
I mean, and we're seeing where it's tracked even now because look how racist they've been to Zohran.
Yep, and on the day Bronem passed, New York City elected his first Muslim mayor.
Hey, man.
Insane.
Shout out to y'all.
Insane.
Shout out Zohran.
Thank you guys so much for pulling through for bro. And now it remains to be seen what he hits on.
Yep.
But
other candidates that won too, the Virginia.
Yes,
sir. She won Spamberger.
Mickey Sherrill won.
Yup.
I was gonna fuck her name up again.
Mickey Sherrill won in New Jersey, and overall across the country it was a big blue
These are
wave.
names.
So yeah, these are some names. But yeah, as kind of we predicted, we got smoke for the current administration, and a lot of people across the country evidently do as well.
Yeah.
I do want to take the time to chop it up with our guest about what he think about it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yes,
We got to.
Between 1933 and 1944, President Franklin Roosevelt would host radio chats with the American people to help get through the Great Depression. He also did it to help inform Americans about upcoming policy. Our current president, however, instead of fighting fascists at every turn, has allowed them to be in the administration. And as we speak, there's currently a battle happening within the Republican Party, if you pay attention, for whether or not Nazism will prevail. In these times, leadership is very crucial. So we decided to contact one of our leaders. Please welcome to our version of our fireside chat with the 57th mayor of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
I didn't know you put that in there. That's hard.
I mean, he got real serious quick. And
That's
just for the record, in Chicago, we call them Lakeside Chats.
Yes, sir.
Lakeside Chat. That's the title right there.
That's the title.
Thank you for coming through. It means the world that you took the time to talk to us. How's things been in Chicago, man?
Yeah, well, listen, first of all, it's the joy of my life. And I just want to say congratulations to all four of you. Thank you for just being the full expression of the hopes and dreams of our ancestors. You all make me proud as a former public school teacher, as a father. Like, it is dope just to connect with you all on a real level. And just being mayor of the city of Chicago, it has been one of the joys of my life. You know, getting married, having children, and of course the Cubs winning the World Series.
Yes,
Right? You know, so those are elements. I put that in that kind of order. Yeah. But you know, trying times, but you know, we're up for it. You know, Chicago is built different, and it's just been a great honor to be able to stand up on behalf of working people and do it in the greatest city in the world.
Yes, sir.
Man, as always, man, we have a lot of questions for you, obviously, because they let us know that we was gonna be talking to the mayor. We was like, we gotta get right.
Where do we get the budget?
Well, before we get into all that, we got some traditions and customs that we do on the Jam.
Yes, sir.
So I want to first begin. You know, we got a little fashion sense,
Yeah,
mainly
you know
tied
what
here
I'm
by my man
saying?
Alan.
Yes,
So
sir.
we wanted to check in with you. What the mayor
With the
wearing?
fit
check?
fit check of prosperity. Prosperity.
You know,
What
we got the
on?
suit going
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, got the standard operation.
Yes, sir.
You know, a nice fitted custom suit.
Custom.
Brought to you by, can't tell you that.
Yes,
You know,
Priceless.
you gotta have on the nice tie. Of course, you gotta rock the sock game, right?
Yeah, the light blue remind me of Chicago
What's on
colors.
the
The light
feet,
blue.
though?
Yeah, man. So these are Edmonds. This is old man style. But I took
fire.
it to, you know, you got to go to Shine King on the west side.
Yeah,
I'm probably about due because you all snapping over here.
Mine got a little scuffs on it. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's good. It's
Shout out
good.
Sean King.
It's
Yes, sir.
one thing for the president to be calling for your arrest and you coming here fly. Like,
That's how we go. That's
I
how
gotta
it works.
ask, what is the watch hidden on?
Oh,
What's the
so
watch?
yeah, man, this is easy. This is working class citizen. You know, shout out to
Citizen?
my Oh,
He got the
really?
citizen. Oh,
yeah.
It's just
Yes,
the
sir.
Jam.
Check it out. So
Fire.
all of a sudden, I'm glad now. I feel like I'm, you know, generationally, like, somewhat relevant.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's pretty dope, bro. I didn't
about
know
to
that.
say,
Man. I'm gonna
yeah.
shout out to my son who swears that his old man is old. So check it out.
But
Get
you'll
you-
see this now. The
Yeah.
citizen
Yeah.
watch is universal.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get into mainly because we're gonna talk a little bit about your past first and like the things that took you to becoming like the mayor of one of the most powerful cities. But first, you know, we in the spirit of government, right? We have our own head of our own government agency.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, you already know what's going on. The FBA,
Here we go.
Federal Bureau of AB.
Yes,
You know what I'm
sir.
saying? In this day and age, you know, everybody just making up stuff. So my company now. So what we want to do, we're gonna take it back very, very far, and I just want to ask you a question of this picture right here.
Oh, wow.
with the dread.
You got your locks in
What?
the
Give us a
classroom.
little backstory on this.
First of all, that picture's only on Facebook. I think nobody still use Facebook. So, check this out. This is actually, man, this is wild. This is the end of my first day at school.
Wow.
Teaching in Cabrini Green.
Wow. I
That's
didn't know
where-
you were talking Cabrini Green.
Yeah,
That's my
that's-
dad from.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And so my first day, end of day, and them black children gave me their best shot.
Yeah.
You look tired.
Yeah. No, that's
eating
pretty dope,
everything.
man. But you know, it's an incredibly fond memory, man, because you know, it was teaching in Cabrini, you know, that really sharpened my politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite frankly, and you know, the best job that I've ever held down was teaching middle school reading and social studies, man.
Yeah.
And I ran into one of my former students, man. At a parade, and is now 32 years old with a kid. The fact that my students are now in their 30s,
Yeah.
that's
Insane.
pretty
That
wild.
is real. That's
It
crazy.
is, yeah. But it was again one of my most fondest memories. Working in Chicago, and of course, you know, I tried to elevate the consciousness of our young people. Wanted the room to reflect, you know, our liberation, and you know, it helped develop, you know, me to be the man that I am today.
Yeah,
That's
I
fire.
see.
That's
Like
fire.
an experience like that gives you a special type of perspective, because in a way, that's almost like groundwork before you're even
Exactly.
in the position you're in now.
It's like the grassroots of teaching, like you teaching the youth, and now you're leading the youth. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, definitely.
I want to ask a little bit more about that. How do you think your experience as like a teacher and everything kind of propelled you to want to seek? Because it's super cool seeing that picture going from teaching black kids in Cabrini Green to leading the entire city. So do you think that it was anything about those experiences teaching that pushed you to want to be like in that leadership role, or is that something you've always wanted to like do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not saying that I woke up thinking one day I'll be the mayor of Chicago. I mean, honest with you. In fact, I thought, my pinnacle would be, a principal in a school, which, that would have been great. Yeah. Right. And then I started teaching. I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
I had a time where I thought being a principal would be cool.
That job is brutal. And I thought maybe one day, maybe a doctorate degree, education policy, something like that. But what was fascinating about my time in Cabrini and teaching there was just you saw the microcosm of the inequity that exists within our larger society. Yeah. People make political decisions that disrupt our lives. Yeah. And so my students would come, into room 309, and they would wake up in the morning and bulldozers were staring them in the face. Yeah. Because we were shutting down public housing. Yeah. But out of their back windows, they could see one of the largest, most dynamic economy in the world, downtown, feet away from the richest community, one of the richest communities in the world. And it was just living through like that dichotomy and that contradiction. It challenged me because you can imagine you 13 years old, you're walking into Mr. Johnson's classroom and I'm talking about the 5 causes of the American Revolution. Yeah. And he like, brother, please.
Everybody trying to listen.
Right. So it really challenged me to make sure that the education that was happening in my room connected to their real life. And, you have, our young people at that time who were chasing an economy that was behind them.
Yes.
While everything in front of them was being destroyed. And somehow I had to provide some hope and a pathway to a stronger existence. And it ultimately, again, it politicized me in a way that challenged me to think outside of the classroom, right? And then, one thing led to another.
Yeah. Do you think that experience kind of set the flame to like the passion you have today?
It did. It did. In fact, I announced my candidacy in the right behind Gender Academy.
Oh, wow.
Out in the outdoor field and the playground. Because I remember, my first day teaching, I wasn't done. I had put up a flyer for any students who were interested in being on the flag football team, right? So I get out there and it's for 5th and 6th graders and 7th and 8th graders. It's like 75 kids out there. I'm like, all these kids want to play flag football. It turns out the vast majority of them had to bring their siblings to the tryouts. Right. So if I'm a flag football coach, I got to run a full after school program because my students who wanted to play could not leave. Right. And if they wanted to stay, they had to have their siblings with them. Right. And so it was just little things like that most people take for granted that begin to further politicize me, that something as simple as an after school activity required me to stretch beyond what I was even calling for in that moment.
I was going to say, I definitely want to speak a little bit to that because I feel like, I can't speak for y'all, but I feel like I've had a similar experience in like living with that dichotomy because where we went to school in the south suburbs of Chicago. And I remember even at my school, like the simple things of having like an after school bus program would like would be very pivotal to making sure that students got home after their extracurricular activities. But I remember when we first moved to the city, like going from that life where you can see like how certain black families were kind of stratified on that side of the city and how they're living. And then you come to like the city and like you said, that wealth and that skyline and everything that you see, that I feel like in a similar way for me kind of had me question a lot of different things that I believe because I'm like, it's one thing to envision like the world that you want to build, right? But like knowing only where you come from, the experiences that you have or whatever, it kind of forces you to understand, all right, why can't this be for everybody? And I definitely appreciate that because I feel like there's so many aspects of like public education, simple stuff like a flag football team, whatever, that can get kids into those things opposed to doing like other stuff. We'll talk a lot about that. But before we get on specifically like young black kids and crime and how they've been weaponizing that, I want to start with the very real issues that again are still are being posed to people. First of all, SNAP. So bringing it into like more modern times, we see that there's still obviously like insecurities with like black and brown families, poverty, all types of stuff. But this situation will only be exacerbated with how we see the federal government's been treating SNAP. In Illinois, there's 2 million people who receive, I believe, SNAP benefits, 850,000 in Cook County and 570K in Chicago. I wanted to toss it off to you because it given us a little like catch up on what the administration's been doing.
So with this administration, clown behavior. So what I've been seeing, right, we know that they're saying, oh, the SNAP benefits aren't coming out for this November. And then they're saying, okay, yeah, we have contingency funds, but they don't want to use the contingency funds. And then the federal judges are now like ordering him to use the contingency funds. Then he came out and was like, not using it.
I'm not doing it.
Not doing it. So what is Chicago going to do for the residents over here?
Yeah, look, I mean, I can't emphasize this enough. A couple of years ago, right when I got elected, I began to see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And, I've made the case that, the extremism in this country coming from the right, it's clear that they have not accepted the results of the Civil War.
Yeah.
For real.
Yes.
And if you look at all of the areas in which the president has drawn his ire towards, it's literally the 5 things that our people demanded post-Civil War.
Yeah.
Descendants of slaves. They said education, housing, healthcare, transportation, and jobs.
Yeah.
If you want to damage a particular region when you're in the midst of a war, you cut off food and medicine.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yep.
Right. And so I just want to make sure that our people are clear that, this is not hyperbolic. This is not, something that's fictitious. This is literally happening in front of us.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things that we're doing intentionally is making sure that the budget that I put forth protects all of Chicago, but particularly the most vulnerable. Now, in terms of SNAP, to be perfectly frank with you, our job in this moment is to coordinate with the Greater Chicago Food Depository and other local pantries to support these spaces to ensure that people have access to food in the meantime.
Yeah.
Let me just end with this. If you never had an experience where you open up your refrigerator and there's no food in it, you'll never understand that.
No.
There's times where we open up refrigerators, it's just ingredients.
You
got sauces, no rice,
And for real, and you make meals out of that. Like, look, we tease about it now, but look, syrup and bread. That's the delicacy. You know what I'm saying?
It'll get you through the time.
At that time, syrup and bread, that's like gourmet. That's gourmet.
If you had taco shell with that peanut butter, that's
well, just for real. Like, look, if you had a little bit of butter, don't have a little bit of crispy bread too.
Right.
You forget
cut the roof
you
of your
broke.
mouth.
But truthfully, it can be very humiliating, degrading, embarrassing. And right now, we're in a moment where people are more apt to defend billionaires than families who are struggling to make the ends meet. And as hard as my father worked, we had moments, where there just wasn't enough to go around, right? And so that's why I'm so intentional about making sure that we're providing long-term sustainability, even in the midst of this immediate crisis. And so it's going to take all of us, quite frankly, to work with the faith community, the business community, the philanthropic community. I'm going to use the resources that are available to me to help support these local food pantries. But the ultimate goal is, I think to the point that you're making, AB, it has to be about dismantling and disrupting this administration. The fact that he's ignoring court orders.
Insane.
Listen, I've had traffic tickets, and I got nervous if I was going to miss that court date. Right,
Bro.
man. They made you feel like if you missed that court appearance, that your life is over.
They're gonna hold you down.
You know what they just told me? I just told y'all a couple days ago. Bro, I woke up, I think it was a Saturday morning, did the little morning stretch, went down to get the mail. They told me I got jury duty.
Civic duties.
Civic duties. I cannot skip that.
You
Because
would
I
never
will-
miss something like that. We have the president of the United States being like, "Nah, I don't care about these."
Exactly.
Especially when it
It's
comes to
insane.
feeding people.
So I do wanna ask even further. What role do you think Chicago has in kind of setting that narrative to understand that, like, hey, there's a government that is acting lawless, that's getting in the way of people eating food, and why, like, making that connection between that administration and our, like, economic woes, like you talked about working class people. How important do you see that going into right now? Because it seems as though there's a lot of people who, I even seen a rise in AI videos on TikTok with like black people, and they'll be like, oh, I don't really care that Snap's being cut off. It seems like there are people trying to manufacture this narrative that like, yeah, you should be for you not getting any food because there are other black people and brown people who also received a similar program. So I do want you to speak a little bit to that dismantling and disrupting that administration and their messaging when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah. Look, the city of Chicago, we're the global capital of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are. And we are the heartbeat, or I like to call the soul of America.
Yeah.
Keep being ranked the best city.
You know what I mean? We are, right? 9 years in a row.
Yeah.
Corporate relocation, 12 years in a row.
Yeah.
We have a booming economy. It's the most diverse economy in the entire country. There's not one industry that comprises of more than 14% of our overall GDP. Wow. So if a particular industry is struggling, like our economy doesn't collapse.
Yeah.
Unlike New York or Los Angeles, right? Financial and entertainment.
Yeah.
Right? So, there's a reason why there's such attention on Chicago. To give a little bit more historic context, when Dr. King came to Chicago, who was invited by Al Raby and others. Al Raby was a black educator at Marshall High School, disrupted the system with a citywide parent strike. He was also the campaign manager of Mayor Harold Washington. Profound brother. His family still exists. And, when Dr. King came to Chicago, he said he had never experienced what he experienced in Chicago, even being in the Deep South in terms of racism and the hyperstratification that you were referring to. But one of the things he said was, if we figure it out in Chicago, we can do it anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Right. And so you begin to see this shift towards, major cities to be the example of resistance against tyranny, fascism, right-wing conservatism, all of these elements that ultimately harm our people. And so I just want to level set to your point, sir, and your question is that Chicago has always played a leading role in the transformation of our country, right? The skyscrapers, steel, the first cars, right? Yeah. Electricity, as we know it today, came to life here in Chicago, right? Yeah. So we've always been on the cutting edge of innovation. That's why our attacks are so severe. And I'm not the first mayor to have a president declare war on Chicago. Mayor Harold Washington in 1986, Ronald Reagan declared war on American cities. This is right out of their playbook. And so
he also ran on Make America Great Again.
He did. You know what I'm saying? Right? Right. So this is our opportunity to like reset, to provide the type of resistance and pushback that can ultimately save working people. So that's why, the difference between me and I think what's happening at the federal level is that I am unafraid and unapologetic about who we have to direct our attention towards. The fact that we are debating should billionaires exist at a time in which we're about to have trillionaires tells us we're already behind the 8 ball. You know what I'm saying? And so it's challenging the ultra wealthy, these incredible large corporations that continue to make billions of dollars off of our misery. And so of course they're going to put forth AI and images to distort and to disconnect us from our natural right to resist, because when Chicago prevails, the rest of the country does.
Yes, sir. It is all connected. I'm very happy.
I have a quick question. In regards to the people that say, like, because you obviously see a lot of fallout with all the SNAP benefits and people getting upset. I'm seeing a lot of people say, like, oh, the crime is going to go up. What is people going to do about crime? Different city leaders. If that is to happen, what will you do, or what do you think our city as a whole should do for crime that will rise from the SNAP benefits not being there?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's no secret that, again, the 3 evils, militarism, racism, and materialism, right? And so when poverty exists, it creates a type of burden and weight on the community that, again, if you've never lived through that,
you don't understand it.
Even the people that criticize it realistically for crime, it's like, okay, people can't eat though.
No, people get into survival mode.
Yeah, exactly.
And listen, poor white people do it too.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't get covered the same way, right? In fact, when white folks begin to experience drug overdose on a particular item, then it became like this national crisis, right? And so that's why in this budget, I'm ensuring that we're investing in youth employment. We have to keep our young people working, and not just like menial jobs. I'm talking about helping them to discover their purpose. Right? Because look, I mean, the grind of working, like y'all a different generation. I'm not mad at you all. Like y'all go to work on Monday. want y'all check on Friday, and then take a mental health day on that next Monday. That's real talk. And I'm like, my father retired with like 400 sick days, and he was proud of it. Not y'all.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? But I respect that, right? And so that's why the youth employment is so critical, so that we can beat back whatever services that could be disrupted at the hands of the federal government. It's why I'm investing in mental health.
Yeah.
You know, I'm proposing the first of its kind tax on social media. Right? These big tech companies that stood alongside Donald Trump that are making billions of dollars. The tech company made billions of dollars just on young people under the age of 18, about $11 billion. And it's been proven that these apps are addictive. You know what I'm saying? And so the tax that we would generate from this new revenue source from these big tech companies, we would use it to go strictly towards our mental and behavioral health. Because it's one thing to make sure there's a good job helping young people find their purpose, but we also have to make sure that our mental health and our well-being is solid. You know, none of that like hold it in, tough it through, you know, pray it through. Like, you know, you need real support and help there. And so those are just some of the elements that I'm going to invest in so that if and when there's a disruption, that we do have a baseline of support in the city of Chicago.
I do want to focus, I want to focus here on the question of young people and obviously employment and crime, because it's funny that you brought that up. One of the top taglines that at least the Republican Party has used for justifying the deployment of troops here, for justifying the ICE raids, is a crime spike, crime rates. We went actually pretty viral on this podcast for diving into some of the numbers that they had cited and explaining how they were kind of taking things out of proportion, misrepresenting things. And either way, a response that makes sense wouldn't include something like the National Guard. If I'm reading stats from your administration, we have overall violent crime being down by 23%, homicides down 46.7, shootings down 42, robberies down 33, and vehicular hijackings down 45. What is your approach? Why is your approach to driving down these crime numbers and caring for the areas that are impacted by these better than the approach that a lot of people, even in community here, will say? They'll say that they've lived through a traumatic thing or they've seen a violent crime happen. So the initial reaction is, okay, we got to get somebody with a tank come in here and just make it go away.
Bro.
Can you speak to the problem with that approach, and what have you and your administration done better?
It's, first of all, when I think about community safety, it's my top priority. It's what I think about every day, all day, honestly. So, you know, my first call in the morning is usually around 8 a.m. My chief of staff and a few other people in my executive team. And that's when I find out what happened the night before once I went to bed. It's an anxious time for me, you know, around 7:45, I'm thinking like, okay, you know, what are the numbers? You know, who are the lives that have been impacted? And, you know, if you don't have that as a part of your daily routine, it's, you know, you don't have the same level of responsibility. Now,
you wake up and see a number on a screen.
Exactly, right? Where I get the full readout of what happened, who it happened to, how old they were, what neighborhood. And, you know, living in Austin, you know, I love the West Side, you know, and I'm the first mayor, you know, in the history of Chicago to wake up in one of the most disinvested communities, right? So I know what it's like, you know, prior to me becoming mayor, my oldest, he's 18 now, he'll be 18 in a couple of weeks. When he's on his bike, you know, I'm like, yo, not that street. Where you going? How far? You know, call, text soon as you get there, right? And, you know, when you've had shootings in Austin and literally bullets coming through our home, our window, and people getting shot out right outside our home, right? And, you know, we go right to bed. Like this is just normal, and we don't want to normalize it. And so I think just having a lived experience and an understanding of like what families go through when you live in communities that have been disinvested in, right? And so when we talk about investing in young people, Austin, for instance, we hired about 1,800 young people from the Austin neighborhood. Austin, the police district there, the 15th police district, we've seen some of the greatest declines in homicides, shooting victims, right? So we've taken this approach that, look, the safest communities in America, they all have one thing in common. They invest in people. When a child is hungry, you don't say, hey, look, would you like to meet the commander of the 15th police district? You
got to fix the material conditions.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's been our approach. But we've also worked with CVI, our community violence intervention workers. These are men and women who have been in the spiral of our penal system, and they are transforming their lives, and they're on the blocks where these feuds exist and they work to de-escalate.
Yeah.
But we're also reopening mental health clinics,
Yeah.
right? So that our people can access mental health. We've expanded the CARE program, crisis assistance response engagement. 40% of the 911 calls were mental health crises. So you have police officers showing up to be
they're
accountable.
unequipped.
With a
You know what
gun
I'm
in
saying?
hand, no experience in that
Unequipped.
at
There's
all.
nothing for those.
Yep.
Exactly, right? And so when we shifted to expand the CARE program, it freed up our law enforcement to do the things that we need them to do. And then I think finally, man, you have to have real affordability in this city.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so because like, what good does it do to have a safe community, but can't nobody afford to live there?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's
Like,
town.
you know, I'm grateful, you know, Mom Donnie, you know, did his thing. And the average price of a home in New York is $1.1 million.
Yeah.
You know, I was just in LA with
Insane.
Mayor Baz. The average price of a home in Los Angeles is $900,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, safer communities, but no one can afford to live there. But what does it do if we can afford to live there, but we don't feel safe? And so we've been really attacking the problem where it's policing and youth employment, policing and investing in education, policing and mental health services, right? And so it's policing and affordability, right? So it's taking that full force of government approach to be able to solve decades-old problems. Context, 1974, 970 homicides. 1995, there were, I believe, 828 homicides. In 2016, I believe there were 778 homicides. 2020, there were roughly, I believe, 805. 2022, 805 homicides. You know, right now, you know, we had, we're on pace to have one of the safest years that we've seen in over 60 years. And the approach is, again, having the full force of government to address those societal issues while making sure that policing plays its part, but it's not the only thing that drives violence down in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right.
You had talked about policing. I don't know if you're familiar with there was a thing called the Chicago takeovers. It was around April. It was like basically just cars in the middle of the street just at night, just kind of rolling around. Everyone's just kind of like, you know, acting wild. And I saw people's response to it was like, oh, we just need to, you know, add curfews. We need to do double the police. And when in actuality, it's like, that won't actually help the problem. We have to actually look at the nuance of it. I wanted to ask you, how important is it for like young kids to have basically outlets and places to go? Because like when you look at a takeover like that and you look at an event like that, a lot of kids go there because they have nothing else to do. I was to ask, how important is it for kids to have, you know, things to do or outlets?
School programs and stuff
absolutely.
like that.
No, look, you have to have opportunity and accountability. Like, don't misunderstand me. Like as a teacher, as a father, you know, my father, you know, a lot more stringent, I think, than dads today. Like the new black dad, we have nothing on James Evans. You know, my children, we can have a back and forth. You know what I mean? My father is almost 84 years old and is suffering from Alzheimer's, and I still flinch when he walk in the room. Like, he's so honoring, man. He remembers that he forgot. Like, there ain't no wrong with me. Okay, good to see you, nephew. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be
real.
I'm just saying, you know, that generation was built different.
Yeah,
than
it
what I'm
was. No,
saying.
different,
And so,
of course.
you know, for me, it's about, you know, opportunity and accountability, right? And so, you know, if people don't have safe outlets, don't act like we didn't go into the Taco Bell parking lot or White Castle. I mean, it's just certain things didn't break out because we didn't have social media the way we have today. And so, of course, we have to hold people accountable when they get out of pocket. But if you don't create opportunities for people, you're going to be chasing down bad behavior versus creating opportunities to create better behavior.
Yeah. We were talking about a little bit about when it comes to like younger kids. I remember one of the ideas we had thought of is kind of like that social media thing. We had talked earlier about the tax on social media and trying to fund mental health. And I think also like a part of it should be encouraging people who want to get a career through social media.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that that's become like a whole new industry that's developed. So there are a lot of kids, and you know, a lot of kids want to be content creators, want to be influencers and everything. So you see stuff like that, and you see these kids who will be kind of like out. I feel like where I think about it is, I think the conversation of accountability is always only had through the lens of police.
Yeah.
That's why I very much appreciate any way to like talk about what else we can do, because you could make takeover stop if you throw 1 million cops at an area. But then you also are going to catch up some kid who probably isn't really committing a crime, but is just standing there and is bored. So finding that balance, I do want you to ask a little bit more about policing in and of itself and what you hope the future is for other mayors or of other major cities when it comes to finding that balance of not wanting to over police people who've historically been over policed, but also making sure that the police can solve like the most violent crimes.
That's right.
Yeah. How do you, sorry, real quick, how do you feel about just overall Chicago policing, like in general?
Yeah, I mean, look, we are in a much better position than we were a generation ago, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm thinking about the DNC, for instance, the Democratic National Convention, how that administration handled protests versus how we handle protests, right? You know, I'm one of the first of all, we were the first major city. In fact, we might be the only major city that called for an immediate ceasefire and the releasing of hostages, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I was one of the first elected leaders to call what was happening over there what it really is.
Yeah.
And you know, I took a lot of political heat for it. In fact, you know, there's a $10 million PAC that is staring me down every day because I have the temerity to call it for what it is, right? And so, you know, I think that we have a long way to go, right? Because, you know, I'm still paying out settlements that happened when I was in high school or sometimes even before, you know, right? Wow. So, you know, we're seeing a shift. There's a lot more work to be done, but I think even going back, you know, to your point, JJ, about just how we cannot allow ourselves to get sucked into this police state and the militarization of our cities as the only thing that you offer poor people in working. Right? You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I've been real strategic and intentional about laying out where we have to focus our attention. And if we don't do that, you're going to continue to get the same results, right? And so there's been I wouldn't call it a seismic shift, right? But there is a generational shift, right? Because you have law enforcement that is becoming more diverse. The younger force is being trained better around de-escalation. But I think more importantly, asking police officers to do more than what they are trained to do is problematic across the board. And you're beginning to see people open up to that idea. Brandon Scott in Baltimore, Randall Wolfen in Birmingham, you know what, Barbara Lee, you know, one of our elders, right, who understands the assignment as well.
Yes, sir. And I think on that point about militarism, and wait, what did this?
Because I wanted to take it back a little, because when we started, you were saying like when you were teaching, you had a flag football event, and it made me like think about when I was a kid, and I was always in like after school programs. I was always in different things, getting a whole different perspective rather than just kind of like doing nothing else. But like I see a big thing with Chicago is like there's a lot of narratives of especially like young black men, and they're always like, you know, like thugs or anything, and there's always this narrative. And there's always that. But and you had said about having accountability, but also that opportunity. I feel like just a lot of people miss out on the opportunity part and demonize these people. Like, how do we take control of the narrative in Chicago?
No, that's real. Because as much as I think there's room to celebrate our youth employment, 31,119, 55,000 applied. So we're talking about over 25,000 young people who did not get an opportunity for a summer job. And so that's why like these investments are so critical. But the best part about it is though, the narrative that our young people don't want opportunities, we've already debunked that. So I think to your question, people were like, man, it's not worth investing because our folks are not going to use it. So I got pushback when we said we're going to reopen mental health clinics. I'm the first mayor since Mayor Harold Washington to actually, you know, care about, you know, mental health in a way to make it publicly available. So the Roseland mental health clinic that we reopened last year around August, there were about 5,500 appointments. This year, August 2025, almost 12,000 appointments.
Wow.
I mean,
more people are using it.
I was like, who would have thought if you give people an option, they'll use it.
But it's this narrative that somehow not only breaking the narrative that we're not the characterization, but it's also breaking the narrative that somehow investing in black is either criminal or not worth it. Like the Department of Justice is investigating me because I'm hiring too many black people. You know what I'm saying?
There's no win-win. You'll demonize us, but then when we have the opportunity, it's like, oh, well, you need help. Like,
I mean, and obviously, same thing. And I was like, historically, black people are lazy. Black people, what are we talking about? You're investigating for getting jobs for black people.
I seen a story that talked about the $8 million that was cut from a Black Student Success Program via this administration. Which is funny because if the problem is black people are committing crimes, black kids don't want opportunity, black young people are all these violent, then
let's just cut the program.
Resources from
let's just cut the program.
Wouldn't help. I do love the question about of taking back that narrative because And it's funny that you already mentioned the war on Chicago, because that's kind of like what we dubbed it as well. Because it wasn't only the use of black people that they've utilized to like do National Guard stuff or do all their rhetoric. It's also brown people with immigration and ICE raids. So I wanted to get into that on a like 50,000 foot level first. What should we as Chicagoans know about your perspective when it comes to migrants and how our government has been dealing with it over time? Because obviously this is not like how to deal with people. We are sanctuary city, so how to deal with people who are migrants and following the law and coming here is a different like ball game, especially when you have bad actors who are constantly trying to like fuel this flame and stoke racial divides. So I've even talked to a lot of like people in community and like black and brown communities who will have an issue and be like, well, migrants, XYZ, and they'll point to that as an issue. What can you clear up for us what your administration's approach on this has been and what we should know?
First of all, 3 quick things, maybe 4. 1, a black Haitian immigrant and a Potawatomi woman. That's who established the city of Chicago. An entrepreneur who established a trade post at the bank of the river. And immigrants from around the world came to Chicago because a black man said that it's good soil, it's good ground, right? And so we want to hold to that, right? Because there's truth to it. Not just for immigrants, but those of us who came up from the South, the Great Migration, whether it was the Great Migration 1 or Migration 2, right? That black folks and immigrants from around the world have enjoyed the beauty of this city. The second thing is to be more geopolitical. Thank you for allowing me to fly a little higher here, because this is frustrating when you're dealing with mainstream media, because they can be, very remedial. And no disrespect, but it's like you got to get an IEP, right, for like mainstream media, right? Just to kind of slow things down a little bit, right? And so, Central and South America in particular is very rich in natural resources, particularly oil. And if you look at Venezuela and Colombia in particular, there's been an ongoing effort to rob these particular nations of their natural resources. And so the sanctions that were placed on Central and South America in particular forced those individuals to seek
refuge.
So you should get the connection. Like the sanctions that were placed in the South on black folks, it forced us to migrate somewhere else, right? So this is being promulgated by our own government. Now, here's the thing that's fascinating. In a war-torn country, which some of these nations are, right, because they're dealing with economic warfare, Ukrainians who found refuge here in the city of Chicago, no one said a word. It's 30,000 of them.
Not a word.
30,000 of them. But they didn't use European immigrants as a foil.
Just like they haven't been with the immigration rate.
You know what I'm saying?
There's many European immigrants who could be overstaying a visa or be an illegal immigrant, but when you allow racial profiling, you know who they're looking at.
Exactly, right? And so that's thing 2. The third thing is, I'll say it like this. So civil rights did not disrupt the rights of white people. Even though, it was like, oh my God, if you give black people civil rights, our country's going to fall apart and white folks are going to lose everything. That didn't happen. It's the same thing with civil unions and gay marriage. It didn't end mine. And so I think it's similarly with immigration. Like immigrants are not taking jobs from black folks. Corporate greed is. 300,000 black women lost their jobs because of Donald Trump, not because of immigrants. And so my view is this. It's like flow with me, Matt, since you're the only one in that's saved here, all right?
Saved man.
It's like, Joseph, right, who, took care of his siblings when he reached the point of leadership. But the Bible also says that he was able to take care of the world as well. There's more than enough in this country for everyone.
Wealthiest country.
We saw the largest upward transfer of wealth to the ultra rich than any other time in the history of Chicago. $1 trillion. Half of it went to, it was like 200,000 households. Right, you know what I'm saying?
$1 trillion.
So half of it going to a handful of people. And so, like, we have to draw our attention towards where the real threat is coming from. And it's these large corporations, these big tech companies that continue to disrupt our lives, and then our families are addicted to these very apps and these entities while there's no, political or economic benefit.
Yeah, and there's no oversight, I was going to say.
There's no regulation either.
I was going to even think about it. I remember you mentioned the app tax. And I'm like, I know some people, like young people, are going to be like, oh, we don't like that. But I even think about something like TikTok. You see, like the CEO of TikTok was at the inauguration along with the CEOs of all the other companies. And even as somebody who's been on TikTok for years, the quality of that app has gone down the toilet
drastically
because a lot of the algorithms are being shaped by these different actors, some of whom are contributing to like stuff like destabilization in Central and South America and everything, and also like influencing these issues to happen. So I think that's a very good point to make about like connecting the lines between how the corporate greed and how the wealthy actually do influence our lives more than our next door neighbors. Because I'm thinking about it as a city and we live in a country where it's constitutional to have sanctuary city laws.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to deal with people coming from all types of different backgrounds because they want to be safe, just like you do.
Yeah.
So I think that's been my take mainly on the migrant crisis.
And just real quick, JJ, as a welcoming city, all it means is that our local law enforcement will not dub as federal ICE agents.
Yeah.
It doesn't give like a free pass for someone to just come here without any regulation or without adhering to the legal parameters that we have. And here's proof positive: 911 calls have gone down significantly since these ICE raids have occurred. ICE raids have occurred, particularly in our brown communities. Right when you have a Black Hawk freaking helicopter landing in South Shore, right, sticking long guns in the faces of Black people, brown folks, zip tying children. Like there's no way that we should be okay with that. And so if Donald Trump was serious about what he's talking about, he's not going after the worst of the worst. The vast majority of individuals that are being detained are either have documentation or they have like traffic, violation. It's really not about safety, right? Because two things, the ICE operation right now, that is essentially a de facto militarized private police force for Donald Trump. There's only only two other budgets that are bigger than ICE: the United States military and China's military. Right? He cut $800 million from violence prevention. He cut the ATF budget by 30%, of which my local police department was working with the ATF to get illegal weapons off the streets of Chicago that are being trafficked from states that voted for Donald Trump.
And then they'll use that as
Indiana.
We see
Indiana.
And then they'll use that as like look how violent these people are. But you're taking away one by one every avenue to like fight against.
So Black student success, you don't want us to hire Black folks.
No.
You don't want us to educate Black folks. You don't want to educate them to get the gun off the street. But somehow we're the problem. No.
The very things that we can use to stop the violent crimes, whether if it's like programs or everything, he's just cutting them.
And that's why
Doesn't make sense.
And it makes it worse because it's like, what do you expect when you're depriving people and scaring the shit out of people? It does nothing for the community at all.
Speaking of scaring, I was going to say, I do want to play some footage. I want to read off of, because it's been crazy since ICE has been in the city. We've seen, like you said, people getting abducted, not even having criminal records, maybe having like a minor infraction, children being zip tied. We've seen videos. We've seen videos of federal agents attacking citizens. We've seen, tear gas being let off. We've seen people crashing their vehicles. The other day, I did want to name this person by name. We seen Diane Figueroa was driving and was ran into by an ICE vehicle, and then we'll take a look at what transpired afterwards. It's very heartbreaking, but I wanted to get your reaction.
Hit and run, hit and run.
Yeah, I'm screaming,
Hit and run, hit and run. Hit and run. That's a hit and run. Hit and run, hit and run. Look, hey, watch out with that weapon. That weapon. Yo, watch out. What's wrong with you? You hit it. You hit her. Yo. What's wrong? You hit her. You hit her. You guys hit her.
Just need to drag her out.
You guys hit her. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all bust a whole U-turn in the middle of the street. Y'all hit her. Y'all on camera. Leave her alone. She ain't even do shit. She trying to go to work. She's trying to go to work.
Just man.
What? Y'all some crazy.
By
Y'all
rights.
got no heart, for real. No heart. No heart.
We can take a pause here. This is obviously not the only situation we've seen, and even yesterday we seen, I don't want to butcher her name, but Diana Patricia Santiana Galeano was abducted at a daycare.
At a daycare, yeah.
Raito del Sol in Roscoe Village. There's obviously a lot of like fear going on in the city because of this.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you what steps, because I know we've seen the executive order that was signed, the ICE-free zones. What additional steps do you think the city government or government generally should be taking to protect citizens when we see increasing instances of lawlessness from these agents? Diane, by the way, is a United States citizen and was released shortly thereafter this.
Crazy.
So what does oversight look like from a governmental perspective, and what else can Chicagoans be doing? Because obviously it's very hard to watch stuff.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking. It's gut wrenching, quite frankly. You see that, without getting overly stereotypical, but just as a man, you see that. Like, your natural instincts kick in, and, so it's appalling. And, kudos to the gentleman who recorded the incident and expressing some restraint there too. Because I do know your natural instinct is to protect, right? That's how I was raised. You provide, you protect, you prepare. And to your question about how we prepare in this moment, these are unprecedented times. I'll be very honest with you all. The executive orders that we put forward really has just been a response to the unprecedented acts that we're seeing. If you'd have told me when I was running for mayor that I would have to sign an executive order to make sure that law enforcement could protect the First Amendment if federal agents came to occupy our city, I would have wondered, what type of world are you envisioning that I'm going to inherit? Right? Same thing about knowing your rights. And then to your point about the ICE free zones, where you can't set up ICE operations on city-owned property, right? And so there's been an evolution, quite frankly, of the role of cities and mayors. And other cities have embraced these executive orders around the country to protect residents. And so I'm using every single tool available to me. The courts, that's where it's at right now. Every single lawsuit that we have put forward, we've won against the Trump administration. We just recently won the $50 million that was taken from our emergency management operations, right? Every single lawsuit that's been brought against us, we've defeated. And so the courts is where it plays out. But I think the where else and what else, it's going to take a collective response, you all. Like seriously, like we're going to all have to band together and organize and resist. Look, there's no secret here. I believe that we have to, particularly our people, and young people, and I know there are risks involved in this. But if you think about every single transformational moment that this country's ever undergone,
everybody took risks.
It took risks, and it was young people that led the way. And so, as my role continues to evolve, our resistance has to do the same. And whether that's, a general strike. Our people did it when we threw down the tools and said, like, look, you're not going to subjugate us to, these inhumane conditions, ungodly conditions as slaves. And you've seen other efforts where people have come together collectively to resist tyranny. And so, again, I'm going to use every single tool that's available to me. I find myself getting creative every single day. Like, true story, when I first got elected, man, we had wildfires coming in, from Canada. We had torrential rainfall. Like, we had floods on the west side. My neighbors texting me and calling me. We had buses coming in from the south. My wife was like, yo, that's a good, what a welcome. My wife was like, yo, if the locusts come, you might want to repent. You see, like, these exactly. So when you think about this unprecedented moment that we're in, you all, like, we're going to have to be far more innovative and use our ingenuity and our creativity to like imagine a world that's not, we have to think about our collective response, but we can't think about how we return back to what it was. It's about how do we make it better, because the conditions were ripe for this type of authoritarianism because people have been upset. We're not speaking directly to the needs of working people. And that's why the tools that I'm using, even in this budget, to invest in mental health, to invest in affordable housing, We have the largest TIF surplus in the history of Chicago, $1 billion, of which $500 million is going to go right to our public education system. We're going to protect the Black Student Success Program. Like, look, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, honey, can you give me something else? Right? Like, any other ideas? What you got?
Genuinely.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm getting a lot of strength, honestly, and energy from like young people right now, because seriously, like, y'all not playing. And it means a lot to me because there are political risks that are involved here. But the fact that you all have not like fallen for the okie doke, if you will, whether it's around the narrative around violence or young people or immigration, like you all are doing the very thing that our ancestors hoped and dreamed of, was to get ourselves educated, centered around a common cause. And let's continue to drive, that hope and inspiration to our people, because that's what resistance really means in this moment, is to express our hope. That's why it don't matter what Trump does, he won't break my soul. He won't. We can't do it.
Real.
Our ancestors looked across the fields and they believed that one day a podcast called Jaam will be in the earth. You know what I'm saying? And so now we have to do the same thing to look on the other side of this and imagine a world that's better than the one that we inherited.
We talked about the youth and just overall the resistance, and I think the big example we've seen is Mob Donnie with that.
I was gonna say, I want to ask you about that, but
Yeah.
I did want to ask one more thing about immigration and powers, because I was gonna. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the statutory realisticness of this. But I've seen a lot of people asking, like, what's the role in the police and what jurisdiction do they have when it comes to determining whether someone's violating the law?
Also, with the ICE raids and shit that's going on, I've seen a couple videos of where there are CPD police officers that would pull over somebody, and then the ICE agents would be right there to come in and interrogate them, pull them out the car, do whatever they got to do. Would there be any like disciplinary actions against police officers that help those?
Or more broadly, what's the role of the city government?
The role, and then how do we make sure that there's accountability?
Right.
Uphold it.
Because we have to uphold the local ordinance, right?
I also know the mayor's hands is tied in certain ways.
Well, look, I mean, that's why the ordinance is put in place. And like, look, real quick, I hate to bore you all with all of my social studies.
It's not
all of the historical sort of down memory lane. But like, look, this welcoming city ordinance was birthed by the first Black corporate counsel, James Montgomery, who passed it on to Mayor Harold Washington to put forth this welcoming city ordinance. And here's the part that's so dynamic. First of all, James Montgomery was the counsel for the Black Panther Party. So he understood overreach and over policing, right? Mayor Harold Washington agrees. They move this welcoming city ordinance, and what ultimately promulgated this, the director for immigration, A.D. Moyer, he set up an operation called Operation Taxi Cab, where basically federal agents waited outside the airports because a lot of immigrants were driving taxis at that time, and had this huge raid. Half of the people that were detained had documents. The other half were in the process. Like, it's very similar, the way history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it rhymes, right? And so I just want to make sure that people are centered in the fact that it's Black liberation that understands what it means to protect all people, right? And so I think what the role of law enforcement in this moment is, they have to ensure that the welcoming city ordinance is adhered to, that without a criminal warrant, we do not engage in immigration enforcement. As far as the absolute role, this is where the evolution is taking place, right? Because let's think about this executive order to prevent ICE operations from setting up in public spaces, particularly city-owned property. Officers did not go through the police academy thinking one day that they would have to enforce, something like that, right? And so they have been doing it. That there's some tricky areas around private property, and we're still working through that. As far as accountability, one thing that I could say for sure when it comes to Superintendent Snelling, a proud Inglewood, South Side, I mean, I believe for a superintendent, I believe he understands it and gets it better than many superintendents that were prior to him. He understands accountability. In fact, since he's been the superintendent, the number of officers that are being held to a stronger standard has expanded. In fact, in this budget, we have what is called it's like a warning trigger, essentially, that if instead of having these cases of police brutality where they go unchecked, if we start to see a pattern within, a particular, precinct or district rather, that commander would be essentially flagged.
Yeah.
To say, yo, you got a PO that's, it's 3-4 cases that have come in this particular mechanism. So to the point that you're making, if people are reporting these incidents, now we have a warning trigger system. Let's say there's the flags it exactly earlier versus 20 years later, and now I have to go before city council to spend $100 million on some brutality that we could have mitigated.
Yeah. I think that's
very
fire.
people are out like kind of like recording these.
Everybody keep recording.
That's right. Keep recording.
Super quick. I think last thing about immigration. Like JJ mentioned earlier, we did a lot of, like, during the summer and then even the summer before, a lot of work with like a different organization called ITP, Increase the Peace Chicago, where we basically just like Black and Brown unity stuff. They do like a parade on the South Side. What do you think? How do we because obviously, like, we have a lot of history in this country, Black and Brown people.
It's a third Black and a third Hispanic, I believe.
That's right. We have a lot of history together, right? But obviously there's a lot of like turmoil there in terms of like our communities kind of barking at each other. How do you and your administration want to, like, how do we basically
maintain that unity?
Maintain that unity throughout the city of Chicago, because I think that's what we need more than anything right now as well, is unity within the city amongst all people.
Collective liberation.
Yeah, no, look, first of all, let
Sure.
me just say, when we talk about, a coalition, let's just be clear. The people who want to force a narrative of division, they have everything to gain from it. Because you're going to need some formation of a coalition to do anything. There were Black and Brown and white and Asian folks that voted for Donald Trump.
And they
That voted for Donald Trump.
That's true.
People think that, these coalitions don't exist and they can't exist. They do. But we have to make sure that our coalition exists around a common thread, our humanity, and making sure that there's more than enough for everybody. Look, I get it. There are some deep-seated tension that exists within our communities.
Real tension.
And I believe that we have to lead the way in having these conversations around how, I'm gonna name it, anti-Blackness exists amongst all spaces. And people who want to be in allegiance with us have to acknowledge that. I find it, quite frankly, reprehensible that at a time in which my administration has kept every single promise that I said that I would do, whether it's mental health, youth employment, economic development, housing, investing in education, but yet somehow it's difficult for people to coalesce around that vision that I promised people that I would do. Right. And so I think where you all play an incredible role, and I think about other youth-led organizations of young, conscientious individuals like, Good Kids, Mad City, and how we're creating space for them to have full-time positions year-round to create peace within our communities. You all can help be a part of leading the coalition to have those hard conversations. Why is that important? I won by 26,532 votes. There were 27,000 new voters in April of 23 that did not vote in February of 2023. All of them under the age of 34.
Wow.
I'm not mayor of Chicago without the consciousness of young folks, right? And so hard conversations, worthwhile, because look, the ultra wealthy in this country and in this world are literally getting away with one of the greatest criminal acts ever, to take the hyper concentration of wealth into the hands of the few. Justice Brandeis, first Jewish American Supreme Court justice, said you can have a democracy or you can have wealth in the hands of the concentrated few, but you cannot have both. And so right now, I think this coalition, we're fighting for our democracy and fighting for our collective humanity.
Yes, sir.
Fire.
I want to move into our last piece, which touches on resistance what the next steps are, what's next for you, and just broader news around the country, beginning first with Zoran.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing him up. Zoran
Yes, sir.
The Democrats generally politically swept the country the other day or 2 days ago after election night. But one of the most intriguing races that I watched was the Zoran Mamdani race in New York City for mayor. He won as a democratic socialist by focusing on affordability, by focusing on taxing the super wealthy to achieve that affordability. You run the third biggest city in the country. I've seen people already hit you with the questions of, are the billionaires going to leave? Which, that's a funny question. I'd be more worried about normal people leaving Chicago.
Yeah.
But what do you say to people who are confused about the future of where the Democratic Party should go when it comes to speaking to the needs of working class people? What do you think we should be doing, and what lessons have you taken from Zoran's win?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, congratulations to the mayor-elect of New York, Zoran Mamdani. You know, I believe his ability to capture the real concerns that people have, and affordability is a big deal. Like I said, over $1 million to purchase a home in New York, $4,500 for rent. I mean, that's not sustainable, and I believe that's the biggest lesson. Our economy, as we know it today, is not sustainable. It's just not, like, you know, the way our taxing entities work right now. It's not going where the revenue is. Our economy is becoming more digitized, as you all know. And you know, you have these big tech companies that make money off of advertisement and selling our data. Right? We're talking about incredible breaches when it comes to just the the theory of the case around Big Brother, right? Where our big sister, constantly, like, infiltrating our information and using that to profit. Right? I mean, you all have experiences. This is not a conspiracy.
You'll say something
They tell your ass before you download it.
You'll say something about going skiing one day, and you go to your phone. All of a sudden, you seeing goggles, snowboards.
Literally,
right?
I remember it struck me the other day because I opened up like Uber or like Uber Eats or something, and I got like a notification that said like, oh, support your friendly app company and vote no on this like proposal or some like thing that was going in. And I'm like, if you really think about it, right? Whenever you hear about any slight like attempt to try to like reallocate the wealth, to like kind of stop the upward transfer of wealth, you'll see people say, oh, we're going to pass the price on to the consumers or whatever, as opposed, even though they have the money, right? They have a lot of the money. And I remember I seen the notification. I'm like, I know Uber make a lot of money. Why are you trying to influence me to go vote to support you more?
Exactly.
Right?
No, and I think that's what, Mamdani was able to like really drill down on. And, again, we are going through that experience right now as governing through what he campaigned on, right? And I think it's an incredible opportunity for the party as a whole to embrace the full package of what the Democratic Party can bring to the table. And it's unfortunate, though, because, you have some individuals who are part of the party that, quite frankly, they reflect the ideology that's coming from the right. And so they're trying to desperately hold on to power at a time in which the country has already spoken. And so this is an opportunity for us in Chicago. This is why this budget is so critical, you all, because we have made the case. When I was running for mayor, I remember, I was thinking, man, when I win, there's certain elements of the job where you're like, man, I hope it's really true. Right? It's like, man, when I get there, I get that purple folder and I open it, I'm signing off on all of it. Purple folder, yellow folder, I'm going to do it all. And so, when I got there, I realized there were some constraints to some of those, elements. But one of the things that we knew for sure was the TIF surplus. And so I'm like, yo, pull the trigger on that one. Is that progressive? Pull the lever. Maybe I can. Either one. Here on Jaam, we can come like that. So let's make the case, but let's also demonstrate that we can do it. So we have this big surplus that's going to go into our education system. But it's why I believe whether it's the smart tax, whether it's the tax on these large corporations, once we do that, then we dismantle the theory that you cannot do it. That's why there's so much resistance. Mamdani has, I believe, an opportunity to benefit from this ongoing movement that has been in the making for some time, right? But Chicago, we do it the best way. We go first. Right? We do it right in Chicago.
Swag a little
You know what I'm saying?
He was already
that little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I know he's 34, he hip and all that. Just shout out to Gen X. Like we are the last obedient generation.
Where you learn it from?
Real.
But yes, in that vein, I am very excited to see what Mamdani can do because, like you said, I feel like all it takes is one thing to. I've been telling, especially you, over and over again the last couple of days. I'm like, all it takes is one policy proposal to work, and there goes all the money that we spent making arguments that this could never happen.
All you have to genuinely do is just convince people, because people are genuinely convinced that there are no solutions to their problems. But Mamdani is the biggest case of like, no, this can't happen.
So Matt, you're spot on, because check it out. Like, look, when you think about taxing the ultra rich and large corporations, 90% of black and brown folks in Chicago support it. This is not about whether or not you have political support about it. This is about who are you going to listen to. Are you going to listen to working class people on the west and south side of Chicago, northwest, southeast, or are you going to be beholden to the very people who got Donald Trump elected? You have two choices here. You're either going to stand for working people, or you're going to stand next to Elon and all the other conglomerates that really have demonstrated that they're not necessarily interested in what we value.
And then they complain, oh, we're all gonna leave the city because no, you're not.
You should start
you're
asking questions when the man who came straight up out of apartheid South Africa, like,
Yeah.
does not want to, like, you should
Literally.
ask how his views are being shaped on the success of black and brown people, if that's kind of like the system you grow up in. And that's one of my biggest gripes is that, yes, we're kind of in this position where you have people and the issues of people and the material conditions of people that need to be improved right now. But you have corporations who are diametrically opposed to that. So I think it is just a matter of that political will choosing
That's right.
who we want to make the case for and who we want to work on behalf of.
And real quick, we talk about those gray areas. Like one thing that we were saying, like, okay, one thing, Mamdani needs one thing to go in effect, and that sets the standard. It's literally the same way Trump and them have done this entire administration to this point. Starting this year, like you said, if you would have asked us or told us in November any of these things would have been happening, war on Chicago, ICE in our communities, we probably would have been like, I don't know if it'll get that far. I don't know, it might be on paper, but I don't know if it'll get that far. We've seen time and time again, they don't care about the rules. They don't care about these gray areas. So in that point, like, we are stepping into an entirely different like setting of what a mayor can be, what a mayor can do, what people can do. And that's the thing that I think that's the thing that we really need to lean into and lean on as a people is just we don't, the same way they didn't conform to these gray areas, we shouldn't have to either. There's no reason why we should be sitting here upholding the law in XYZ way when they're only upholding it in X way or in whatever the hell way they think they're upholding it. C way, one.
So on that similar note, I want to ask you finally two more questions. Should this progressive model that you've emulated, this model of collective liberation and pro-diversity, because I personally feel like the Democratic Party nationally has kind of walked away from making the positive case for immigrants and for immigration. And that's kind of left this vacuum while now people can go in and divide and divide and conquer and everything. So have young people lost their minds, or is this the way that we're going to defeat fascism? And then also, how do we make our buses free?
Real. Well, let me just say, first of all, with the buses, so shout out to the leaders in Springfield that
seen that
finally
CTA
took care of
passage.
investments in our public transportation system, CTA in particular.
Shout out, yes.
It's amazing how much money you can find in the middle of the night.
Insane.
All of a sudden, the millionaire found.
Damn, I didn't even know we had it.
I don't know. Maybe I should call a city council meeting at 2 a.m.
Hit him with that 2 a.m. meeting.
Let's find these numbers. $1.5 billion. Our ridership is up, right? This is where people, really move around. This is the way our economy moves. Whether it's our public transportation system, our airports, those investments are solid. Do I believe that there's room to have a public transportation system that doesn't just protect workers, but it also ensures that riders can afford? I do believe that we should explore, and even after a victory here, to figure out ways in which we can make it even more affordable. I think in terms of whether or not young people have lost their minds, by no stretch of the imagination is that the case. In fact, I actually think that the clarity of consciousness that is coming from this generation is really reminiscent of a time, quite frankly, I have to see myself as one of the elders, or I guess in this version, Unc.
Yeah. Bruh, I hear that all the time. I'm 26. It don't even make sense. It don't make sense.
They'll call him Unc too. He's 21.
Can't do that. I mean, it's like, let the brother build up his pension.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing in the 401k.
Not even married yet.
Right. Let him say, watch out now.
Don't hurt him.
Let me get up and feel the. Let me get up and feel the pain in my knee a little bit before.
Which, by the way, before I get up, I should cut that tape. I'm gonna look real right here. But I think that what I'm seeing around the country, right, where you're seeing more young people not just run for office, but they're starting businesses. They're using the mediums to be able to influence society. Like real talk, man. That takes you all are taking risks that Gen X we were encouraged not to. Go to school. Find your good job, purchase a home. You don't have to worry about the struggles that your parents had, basically play by the rules. And now you have, individuals in my generation that are struggling, right? And it can be degrading, right? Where you have the grind, that black men, black women have gone through, and then you're looking at the politics and it's not speaking to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I played by the rules and I owe more in student debt than my house. You know what I'm saying? And my son who's about to graduate, he looking at, me and my wife, his mother, and like, I don't want that to be my experience. And so I have a 18-year-old son who is not just politically conscious about, the way that our higher education system has, really made it unaffordable and unattainable. So now we're making a decision on where he can go to school, and he has done everything right, from athletic, he's worked. He's holding down that 3.8.
Yeah,
fire.
3.8.
Shut up, bro.
Like, so solid. I hope he never sees mine.
No,
Because he's gonna look and be like, now, how did mom agree?
Different times.
Different time.
So I just, believe that it really requires, you all to continue to believe in self-care, taking care of one another and stretching the bounds. Like I'm tripping. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. So, my dude, Alan, right? With the jacket.
Oh yeah.
But that's not the thing, though. It's not the jacket. Hey, dog, man, how you got nails that pretty?
Yeah, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what, bro?
Alan still has top 1 best nails.
Come on, man. I'm like, I gotta step my game up.
Every time
He inspired me.
I got my nails done one time, and she was like, "Yeah, you got them hands. You ain't never been through shit." Really? I'm like, I'm not even finna come back.
Come on, no, man.
But that self-care is very
You can tell I was in a warehouse or something.
I ain't get my first manicure, so I was around them.
That the self-care and being conscientious about our responsibility one to another, like that's the hope and dreams of our ancestors. There's a reason why we grew up with play cousins.
Yeah.
I don't know any other cultures who do that. I remember seeing one thing on social media because I got my little fake TikTok. To keep up with Jaam, right? The question was like, do white people have cousins? Did you see that? Because they don't ever hear them talk about it.
They got like official cousins.
Remember they tried to get on Mom Donnie the other day for calling somebody auntie. I'm like, y'all just don't get
so
it.
funny.
Like, I got like 80 aunties.
They were saying that his auntie wasn't his auntie because it was his like uncle's cousin. I was like, we just had Chance the Rapper, and everyone calls him his cousin because we from Chicago.
Right.
That's how it
got
is.
people in church that call up,
Grandma, nephew, everything.
I definitely think that sticking together in a time like this is very much important, especially like not only Black and Brown unity piece, but just like nationally, because it's super crazy seeing how much like Black men especially are kind of being like both like weaponized right now. And it's usually that way. You know, I get comments when I like, even when we were reading those statistics, I got called like racial slurs. I got comments where people are talking about like, oh, that's because all y'all are violent. So there's obviously a predominating narrative, right?
It's funny that you said that.
That comes from that racism, that comes from that anti-Blackness. And I think that like every opportunity we can do stuff like this, talk to people around you, talk to, like have community within your thing, you kind of, you start to destigmatize that one by one because the humanity comes through. And I feel like that's also why I appreciate the answer you gave about illegal, like the term illegal aliens, because that is one of those things you have to at every single time try to like advocate for the humanity. That's the only way I feel like that you're gonna be able to see like what the correct course will be. But Thank you
Oh,
so
wow,
much
man.
for coming through on the jam,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Appreciate you.
Oh my
We
goodness.
gotta. I was gonna say we gotta ask him like.
Oh, we gotta issue some Chicago
Yeah,
questions.
Gotta sign out.
I gotta
Sorry.
ask you one little question, right? And Matt's gonna get real mad at this.
Okay.
Are you a basketball fan?
So yes, however, it's a disclaimer. I'm a basketball fan, and I don't like the fact that basketball games are ending 135 to 145 every night.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, it's like these got these superheroes out here shooting long distance range. You got to keep in mind, I grew up, watching Michael Jordan have to battle Chicago's West Side very own Isaiah Thomas. And like, if you had 35 points at the end of the first half, right, you were doing something. So I enjoy the game of basketball, but I think it's gotten a little too generationally.
Like a disconnect.
It's
young
a little
people
different.
now.
It's got to be a
We
little
done
more-
with the 90s.
I think I know where you stand on Cub socks.
Yeah, man,
So-
no doubt. I mean, look, the real story is it's WGN.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And y'all won't know anything about this.
I like me some W.
So,
I
check
like
this
some
out.
W.
If you were to ask anybody what station did the White Sox play on, most people won't know.
Was it Channel 9?
44.
44.
And then like you have the knob with the thing behind the knob to like try to get it to come in clear. And the game, so game on at 9 o'clock is fuzzy, it's dark. It's like, man, this ain't baseball. This is a horror film.
I grew up. You know what's funny? I grew up Sox fan, and then I like came to the light when I met Jay. I'm like, yeah,
My whole family was Sox fans. Me and my dad was different. I was like, all right, cool. I did it.
yeah, Sox fan.
But go
sir.
Cubbies as always. But yes, sir.
Question.
One more.
3 chicken spots. Uncle Ramus, Sark's, Harold's. Which is the best out of the 3?
Come on, man.
It's important, bro.
I mean,
Important.
look,
Very important.
Look, it's caused a great deal of
Yes. yes.
consternation,
got real
over my time as mayor of Chicago because, like, you have a social, a political, and a regional like responsibility as mayor of Chicago, right? So, you represent Chicago globally, and then when you come to Chicago. When you think about locally, though, it's like, man, we take sides.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Real.
They're like,
We are
people
taking sides.
get
Yes.
offended by it too, and it's just like, why would you go anywhere other than Uncle Remus?
Oh, that's a good. That's a shot.
So let me just tell you. Let me just give you a little context here. Look, listen. Harold's throw down, but let me just say it like this: it's like Harold's number 77.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Harold's number 800.
Okay, I
For
think that
Uncle
was-
Remus, our stuff is so good. It's just like, look, you either coming on Madison and Central, or
That's what Josh Doss said too. He said,
our stuff is so good. You just get one. We don't let you just overly franchise our product. Like on the west side of Chicago, we take our stuff seriously. How you trying to put your name on something when you don't know the struggle of what it took to get this chicken to taste right? West side.
But if you hit that really good Harold's though,
It's really
but it's hit or
dependent.
miss.
But
It's
here's
really
the
hit or
thing.
miss.
The fact
Gotta go to
that-
79.
But the fact that like your chicken could be hypothetical, you know what I'm saying? It's like if then, like this is not a biology class. Why are we solving for like these deep, profound biological challenges? Central, Madison, West Side. Shout out to you, Charmaine.
Shout out. Hey, shout out to the West Side.
Shout out to the West Side. Shout out to the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson.
Brandon
so
Johnson.
many dislikes on this.
Thank you guys.
you're
If you
welcome.
want to keep up with the Jam and the mayor, first of all, how can they show you support?
Wow,
everything?
that's a good question, man. What's the website, man? At Shy Mayor, all of the platforms.
Yes, sir.
Check us out there on all of the social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And go to our website, find out how you can get more involved.
Yeah.
Look for people who are starting small businesses. We have opportunities for you.
Mm-hmm.
Developers, we have opportunities for you. Young people, we have opportunities for you. So go to our website, but check us out on all of our social media platforms.
Yes, sir.
At Shy Mayor, right?
Yeah,
You got it right? At
Chicago
Shy
Mayor.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Before we go, could you look at the camera and please just tell them to like, subscribe?
Oh yeah,
show
for
right
sure.
here.
Where we at
Let's
right
get
here?
it.
Right
Listen,
there,
man,
yes,
there's
sir.
only one place to get your information and your joy, and it's right here at Jaam. You
Yes.
gotta like, share the Jaam, right?
Yes,
Got you right. So like, share, engage, but this is definitely the place to be. So shout out to all of you brothers.
Thank you,
man.
man.
Thank you
Very
so
proud
much.
of you as a black man, as a black father, as a former educator. It brings me so much joy to see you all holding it down, being a part of the next generation of transformation right here on The Jaam.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You heard the mayor.
Appreciate y'all.
Have an awesome day or night wherever you may be. And see you.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace, yo.
Thank you for watching this long. If you haven't already, subscribe. What is you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? You think we just sitting here doing it for nothing?
You think you're gonna sit here and not do
Need
shit?
to
Like,
eat.
share this shit.
What is that? I know you're not subscribed. Click it.
Cool.